I think we all knew this was bound to happen sometime. I finally got myself a flatbed knitting machine. So I had been keeping my eye on this specific model for quite a while, and I finally saw it go on sale for a decent price. So I thought, I'm just gonna get it. I know I'll use it. I've been wanting one for so long. Obviously, I like knitting machines, and I think that this is going to be a fun next step in my knitting machine journey. So I just had to get it, and I'm very excited to show it to y'all and bring y'all along while I learn how to use this thing. Supposedly, this is the best machine for beginners. I don't know whether or not I would be considered a beginner since I have so much experience with circular knitting machines, but I thought better safe than sorry. I would rather not get in too over my head, plus this machine is cheaper than some of the more advanced machines, and from what I understand, this machine is still very versatile and you can do a lot with this machine, especially if you're willing to do some hand manipulation, which clearly I am willing because the Centro does need a lot of that if you want to make anything other than a scarf or a beanie, which is what I am, that's what I'm best at, is manipulating things on the Centro. So I thought I don't feel too intimidated by that prospect on the flatbed knitting machine. Okay, now it's time for a little unboxing. So we'll go through all of the pieces that came with my knitting machine, and then later we'll put them all together and actually build the machine. So first up is this instruction book that I'm hoping has everything I need to know to set up the machine and learn how to use it. It seems like there's a lot of information here, so I'm excited to look into that more later. Next up, we have these weights that you put on your project after you cast on, just to help hold the knitting down. And there are 3 weights and 2 of these little connectors, so it can span the whole width of the machine. Then there's this little ruler that I'll probably never use, but I guess it'll come in handy. Then there are a couple extra weights. These will go, I guess, anywhere on your project, but I think mostly they're supposed to go on the edges. Again, just to help weigh down your project so it's easier to knit. Then we have these clamps that will clamp the machine down to your table so that it doesn't move around. Very handy, of course. Then we have this bag of goodies. So there's a lot in here and we will go through all of them. First up, we have these little gadgets that will move the pins around in a few different configurations. Then we have these tools to help with stitch manipulation. Then we have this mystery tool that I don't actually know what it's for, so I guess I'll learn that later. Also this weird string that I also don't know what it's for, so again, I have some stuff to learn. Then we have a couple of replacement pins and a darning needle, which again, always comes in handy. These 2 little things are yarn rests, I believe, so they can help you just keep track of your yarn better, especially if you're working with multiple colors. This is the base of the yarn guide, so we're gonna have to build up the whole yarn guide, and this will go on the bottom and actually attach it to the machine. This is the rod that will go into the base I was just holding. Then this really weird looking thing will go on top of that rod, and it has these weird antennae that will help guide the yarn. It also has some kind of tension stuff going on in there to help you control the tension of your yarn. This piece actually goes on that rod that I showed y'all earlier, and again, it's just gonna help guide the yarn, and it also has these little notches on it so you can kind of wrap your yarn around to keep your yarn out of the way of the machine until you're ready to actually use the yarn. Next up is the row counter, and as you can see, it'll count up to row 999, and it just counts each row as you move the carriage, which we'll see later, back and forth past that kind of white triangular piece on top of the row counter. Now it's time to actually take a look at the knitting machine itself. So here you'll get a quick glimpse of the underside of the machine and the carriage. The carriage is what I'm moving back and forth right now, and that's what does the actual knitting. So that's everything that came with my knitting machine, and I think we are ready to start putting it together. You wanna be in here? Yeah, you can. Daphne was scratching on the door. Hi. Oh, yeah, you cute. She's doing a lot better for anyone that's wondering. Okay, so now that I have everything unboxed, I think I am ready to start setting this thing up. So I have the manual here, which I assume has all of the instructions for setting everything up and getting started. I have seen some tutorials, but you know, they don't ever really mean anything until you have everything actually in front of you. So first thing is to extend this machine actually. There and there. Now I'll take these clamps and clamp them down to my table. All right. I don't know what any of these pieces are called, but this is like the bottom thing that the like rod is gonna come out of so that I can, you know, put my yarn through that whole rod and it will feed into the machine eventually. This goes somewhere on the back. This is the rod I was talking about. Snaps right in there. Then this thing, which I believe holds the yarn, goes over top of this rod, kind of slides down there. Then we have this funny little thing that has these wire antennas, and this is gonna go on top of this rod. And then for the last thing, at least on this page, that I need to attach is the row counter, which also will go on the back. There we go. That is pretty slick. Okay, now that I think it's all pretty much set up, I am gonna take a little bit of time to read through this manual to figure out what the heck I am supposed to be doing. And then we can move on to making a little swatch. I had dreams of just diving right in and starting with a project, but I think that's a really bad idea. So I am going to read this and then we'll make a swatch. And then another time in another video, we can make a project. Okay, so I have tried to cast onto this machine a few times now and it is not working. I can get the yarn like sort of casted on, but then it's not really knitting, or sometimes it doesn't fully cast on, it only partially casts on. I don't know exactly what my issue is. I think it's user error. I am going to try out a few different things. Maybe my tension's too tight. I think maybe my yarn choice wasn't great, so I'm going to try out some other yarn. I picked yarn that works well on the Centro because I thought that it would probably work well on this machine, but I don't think it's working very well. It could be because my tension just isn't right for that yarn or something, but I'm going to try different yarn. This is merino wool yarn, and I was trying a bamboo yarn. So, you know, wool is probably gonna be a safer bet than bamboo. So we'll see. I'm also gonna change my tension, and maybe just with more practice, I'll be able to figure it out. But so far I am struggling. I think I'm gonna take a break from this for today because I'm getting a little bit frustrated. I don't know why it's not working. I need to just keep testing things out, but I can't get this thing to do a cast on correctly for the life of me. So I think I need to just take a little break and come back to it tomorrow with, you know, fresh eyes and less frustration. I am feeling refreshed. It's raining outside. I've got a big sweater on, another cup of coffee, feeling very cozy. I think that this is the perfect day to figure out this knitting machine. I really think it's just gonna take a lot of trial and error. I think that it's me. I don't think it's the machine that is messing up or that there's something wrong with it. I think that I just need to take some time and be patient to learn how to use this machine. It's kind of frustrating that I'm having so much trouble with just step number 1, casting on, but from what I've seen, that is the part that requires the most trial and error. So I'm trying to be patient, and like I said, I am feeling up to the task of lots of trial and error today. I would really like to make a successful swatch today, and I would love to attempt decreasing and increasing on the machine, just to get a feel for how all of it works. I don't want to just be stuck with rectangles for very long. I got this machine because it's supposed to be more advanced than the Centro. I can easily make rectangles on the Centro. I want to do some more complicated stuff with this machine, so I do want to dive into a little bit of stitch manipulation today, if I can. So here is my swatch I just made. It technically worked, which is good. This is definitely my best attempt yet, but I think the tension could be a lot better. And then towards the top on the edges, the stitches were getting really loose and big. Like, you see how gigantic those stitches are? I don't really know what I did wrong, but it's on this side too. Stitches are so much bigger and it does not look very good. So I'm gonna unravel this and do it again. Hopefully doing it another time it'll be better. I'm gonna try it on a tighter tension as well, which I know isn't good, but I think I figured out part of the reason why I'm having so much trouble is because the yarn exiting my cake, you know, right now there's not as much in the center, but before, when the yarn was like really packed in the center there, the machine was having a lot of trouble getting the yarn out from the center of my cake. But now that the center is more open, the yarn is coming out way easier. So I think the machine will have an easier time getting the yarn out, and hopefully that will fix part or hopefully all of my problems that I'm having. So I'm gonna unravel this and give it another try. I have knit a bit of a swatch and it's working out much better. I think I figured out what my issue was. It's what I was talking about earlier, where the center of my cake here was just wound too tightly. So my machine was having to pull too hard to get the yarn from the center. And it was making it really hard to move this carriage back and forth. And it was kind of just messing with the tension of my swatch and just, it didn't feel good to use it. I was worried I was gonna break it. So what I have done to fix that is I just have this kind of pile of yarn here that my machine is pulling from. And then once it gets through this pile, I think it should be fine to just pull it straight from the cake because it's coming out so much easier from the center of the cake since we've gotten to a point in the cake where it's not wound so tightly. So I feel pretty confident in this swatch and how the machine is working, so I don't feel like I need to take it off of the machine to check it out. I think it's good. So at this point, I am going to attempt decreasing and increasing. I'm gonna decrease for a little ways and then I'll increase for a little ways so we'll get, you know, some nice shaping on this swatch here. I'm not gonna be using this for anything. This is just for practice, but I just like the idea of doing this increasing and decreasing with some intention instead of just randomly, because I think it'll be easier to see what the actual effect on the swatch is if there's some intention behind it rather than just random increases and decreases everywhere. So here is my swatch with my decreases and increases. I did screw up a little on this side. I know what I did wrong. Ignore that. This side is correct and I didn't screw up. And I think it looks pretty good. The increases, the way I did it, do leave a little bit of a gap, even though I did pick up that extra, you know, back bar on the purl side and put it on the needle like how you would do in hand knitting to kind of decrease the appearance of a hole, but they still did kind of show up these holes. I'll have to play around with that. The decreases look pretty good. I feel like they could be tighter and cleaner, but that could just be, you know, my tension that I have going on here. I think overall the tension looks really good. It looks really even. It's much tighter than before. You know, you can't really see my hand pass through the back like I think you kind of could on my first attempt. So I'm really happy that I seem to be improving. There's definitely things that I want to play around with and figure out kind of what I like best and what works for me. The cast on that they have you do is just that typical provisional cast on that you do on the Centro as well, where it's just these series of loops with a string through them, just a provisional cast on, which I don't love, especially as a permanent thing on a project. And I don't like to have to go in and fix a provisional cast on afterwards. Like, I want my cast on to just be permanent. I don't like these ones that you have to go do something with after the fact. So I will be experimenting with different types of cast on as well, either E-wrap cast on or longtail cast on. We'll see. I'm not really sure what you can do on the machine. I also don't like how they have you cast off. The way they have you cast off is just to knit one row without any yarn in it. So when it comes off the machine, it's just the live stitches, the raw edge. And I really hate that because every single time I have cast off a panel, a bunch of my stitches come undone and I have to go in and fix them with a crochet hook afterwards. And I really don't like that. So I'll definitely have to look into other types of cast off methods as well, because I really don't like having to cast off with just the live stitches there. I want them secured in some way. But overall, I think it looks really good and I'm really happy with my progress. I feel like I've improved a lot and I kind of understand what I'm doing now, and I think I could successfully make a panel anytime. So now it's just practicing the more advanced techniques like stitch manipulation and figuring out other methods for casting on and casting off. So since I finished my swatch, I think I'm going to be done for the day. I feel pretty accomplished. I definitely understand what I'm doing a lot more. I still obviously have lots to learn and just get better at. If you have any tips, please let me know. I am obviously still a major beginner, but I feel good about what I have done today. I have definitely improved a lot since yesterday, and I'm very excited to keep learning about this machine and actually do a real project soon, hopefully. If you have any recommendations for a first project to do on this machine, I would really appreciate your tips on that as well, because I'm not really sure where to start for a first project. Should I jump into a sweater? I don't really want to do a scarf. I definitely want to follow a pattern or a tutorial. I don't want to have to come up with all of the measurements for myself. I don't think I am prepared for that yet. One day I would like to just kind of do my own stuff on here, like come up with my own patterns. But for now, I would really appreciate following some instructions. So I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, then remember to leave a like and consider subscribing for more knitting machine content. I really hope that y'all enjoyed this because I want to do a lot more stuff with this knitting machine and I would love to bring y'all along for that. So let me know. This does not mean that I'm going to stop doing stuff on the Centro. I still really want to do stuff on the Centro, but I'm hoping that I can do stuff on here and the Centro, and maybe they will inform each other. So I'm very, very excited about this. Also, let me know if you have a flatbed knitting machine. I kind of want to know how common they are. I feel like they're not that common, but maybe they're more common than I think. So let me know if you have one and how you like it. Shout out to my channel members. Thank y'all so much for being here. As always, your support means so much to me. If you'd like to become a channel member and get access to special perks, then you can click on the join button down below or find the link in the description. I hope y'all have a great rest of your day and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.